As darkness enveloped Russia, millions found themselves at the crossroads of war. The ominous drone strikes and missile attacks reverberated, casting a palpable shadow across the nation. Major cities, once bustling with life, became sporadic targets for Ukraine's relentless offensive. The skies over Moscow and St. Petersburg grew hostile frequently, with airports suddenly suspending flights, enveloped in chaos from successive drone assaults. This was no fleeting nightmare, it evolved into a menacing pattern that citizens learned to dread. The chilling turn of events began in mid-March 2025. On March 11, Moscow endured one of the most extensive UAV strikes on record. Alarms blared through the capital as air defenses scrambled to intercept a swarm of aerial threats approaching from all sides. Citizens were gripped by fear, sensing that their lives had forever changed, a haunting reminder that they were not merely spectators but part of an escalating conflict. In the wake of this assault, normalcy faded. Although operations resumed, the phrase night closure became etched in the minds of weary travelers. The ripple effects were undeniable, transportation networks faltered, and panic settled into everyday routines. That one fateful night marked a dark threshold that would redefine life in the metropolis for the duration of that year. By May, the situation further spiraled. On the 6th, an alarming number of airports around the capital faced temporary suspensions, with air traffic disrupted due to ongoing threats. Takeoffs and landings turned into a perilous gamble as risk assessments forced planes into holding patterns. For everyday passengers, this chaos mirrored a ticking time bomb, disrupting the anticipation of summer vacations. The atmosphere thickened with anxiety, alerts from flight applications became as anxiety-inducing as distant sirens. Each interrupted flight heightened the sensation of unease and uncertainty. June brought renewed trepidation as flights were grounded yet again, thwarted by swarms of drones circling the skies. On June 25, the air defense system boasted of intercepting an astonishing 114 unmanned vehicles, a number so staggering that it could no longer be ignored. The cycle seemed inexorable. Incidents expanded beyond aviation. Navigation apps faltered, and driver services across the outskirts stumbled, overwhelmed by the invisible battles raging above. Conversations echoed with alarming phrases, flights were suspended as precaution. We destroyed them. The world felt simultaneously safe yet perilously close to destruction. By July, the conflict escalated further. Infrastructure attacks targeted energy nodes, underscoring that the defense wasn't merely concerned with aerial threats anymore, it had to safeguard the very heartbeat of the metropolis. July 4 brought another wave of drone attacks, and as some stood vigil, clutching their phones, their hearts raced with the stark realization that the battle was encroaching upon their lives with each passing day. Just imagine the desperation in those moments, the ground beneath them vibrating with tension. The air thick with the scent of fear and uncertainty. For the citizens of Moscow, this was an abyss of anxiety which only deepened. Would the next announcement breathe hope or send shockwaves of despair? As reality set in, the question lingered in the air: when would normalcy return, or would the alarm signal the end of a peaceful existence? In May 2025, the pressures mounted, dramatically affecting civil aviation. On May 6, multiple airports around the capital halted operations due to heightened risk assessments. Both takeoff and landing procedures were suspended, grappling with safety concerns surrounding runways and the airspace above. As anxiety surged, May 25 marked another chaotic day when flights again faced disruption. Aircraft, poised for landing, were forced into holding patterns, while departures remained in limbo. For the ordinary traveler, this chaos became an all-too-familiar nightmare, striking twice in just 2 weeks. Plans for the summer season hung by a thread, as delays spiraled out of control, sending shockwaves through the transportation system. The once simple act of boarding a plane now felt as stressful as listening to the piercing sound of sirens in the distance. June brought an escalation in hostilities. The frequency of disruptions skyrocketed, with flights grounding again during the week of June 8 due to rampant drone swarms circling Moscow and St. Petersburg. On June 25, the announcement that air defense systems had neutralized 114 unmanned aerial vehicles jolted the nation to its core. This wasn't just a statistic, it underscored the escalating conflict as drone threats loomed overhead. Each drone encounter challenged the city's infrastructure, not only grounding flights but also wreaking havoc on navigation services. Amidst the turmoil, unsettling moments became all too common. Mobile phones buzzed with notifications. briefly displaying erratic location deviations that echoed the uncertainty felt across vast areas. The message of precaution was constant, flights were suspended, and drones were destroyed, yet the feeling of danger persisted. As the air thickened with tension, residents could sense the underlying fear: the war was closer than ever. What would happen next? Would the sky herald more chaos, or could a sense of normalcy return? In the previous segment, we explored how people began experiencing irregularities in their cell phone signals, reflecting a deeper unrest as the phrase "flights were suspended" gained eerie familiarity. This unsettling trend turned into an intricate game of caution as cities braced for unexpected interruptions. As July 2025 rolled in, there was an unmistakable escalation in the situation. The perception of safety within the Moscow region crumbled as the shadows of conflict loomed larger. On July 4, an attack on a transformer station near Sergeyev Pad revealed a chilling truth: defenses that had focused only on aerial threats were now tasked with protecting vital ground infrastructure too. The following day, reports confirmed the destruction of 4 additional drones, signaling that defense efforts were intensifying. Operators in the area quickly recalibrated their strategies, adopting backup plans as daily routines began to shift. Practices such as stockpiling fuel, relocating essential IT equipment, and installing backup power systems entered the lexicon of city life. For those at home, unexpected power outages became an alarm clock of anxiety, forcing them to wonder, when would the next disruption strike? This sense of foreboding hung in the air like a fog, compelling residents to adopt a vigil, awaiting the next unsettling announcement. By the start of the second week of July, the scale of disturbances signaled an alarming new threshold. On July 18, chaos erupted as flights were abruptly halted at major airports Domodedovo and Vnukovo due to fresh drone assaults. Just 2 days later, the announcement of 117 drones being taken down in a countrywide wave shocked the public. This was not just noise, it confirmed a relentless pattern of interruptions, normalizing a state of anxiety for everyone around the city. Airlines were forced to integrate backup and alternative plans into their daily operations, marking a new era of uncertainty for travelers. People began to ponder a startling reality: could life in Moscow ever return to normal? Summary of the previous part: the summer of 2025 marked a new reality for Moscow as drone attacks disrupted air travel, transforming once reliable operations into a chaotic cycle of closures and delays. Airlines adapted to this unsettling norm, as residents began counting the days without interruptions, while the looming presence of war became impossible to ignore. Imagine a summer where the sky above your city hums with the threat of unseen drones. As July turned to August, Moscow's airspace became a battleground, creating an uneasy rhythm of chaos. Travelers faced unexpected delays, and the air was thick with tension. Business plans unraveled overnight, as everyone wondered, how many uninterrupted days could there be? Social media buzzed with alarming counts, each post a reminder of the fragile normality they once knew. By August's end, the pressure intensified. Major airports around the capital faced simultaneous shutdowns, sending shockwaves through the city. On August 26, a cascade of notifications disrupted ticketed passengers, forcing crews to scramble for emergency routes. The sound of alarm bells rang out, echoing through the terminals. Meanwhile, distant explosions in regions like Bryansk and Smolensk hinted at a widening conflict, forcing the defense to redistribute resources across the nation. In this tense climate, it became clear, Moscow's safety was an illusion. The phrase "3 squares around the capital could close overnight" morphed from a mere warning into a haunting truth. Pilots, air traffic controllers, and everyday citizens braced themselves for the next disruption. As no-fly zones loomed over Domodedovo, Vnukovo, and Sheremetyevo airports. The war had crept closer, no longer a distant conflict but a reality invading their daily lives. As September approached, nothing had changed, only the stakes grew higher. The numbers were staggering. On September 1, reports revealed that 160 drones were intercepted in a single night, with another 152 destroyed in the days that followed. Each wave of attacks prompted immediate airspace restrictions. The relentless drone presence cast a shadow over Moscow, turning routine life into a precarious dance with danger. The question lingered in the air: how would the people of Moscow adapt to this new reality? With every notification of flight cancellations, they were reminded, the war was no longer just a headline. It was right outside their doors, challenging their sense of security and reshaping their lives. As air raid sirens wailed and the skies darkened over Moscow, a chilling new reality took shape. No longer a city shielded by distance from conflict, Moscow found itself at the epicenter of an escalating war, as waves of drone and missile attacks transformed everyday life into a risky venture. Just days prior, life bustled along familiar streets, but that backdrop shattered, replaced by anxiety and uncertainty. Did anyone feel safe anymore? In the following days, airspace restrictions took hold, urging residents to stay alert. Major airports like Domodedovo, Nukovo, and Sheremetyevo fell silent, their runways frequently closed as app alerts advised travelers to stay clear. The humor of daily commutes was overshadowed by an eerie tension. People shuffled through the city, phones buzzing with urgent notifications. While officials claimed drones were intercepted, the palpable fears of the citizens revealed a more sinister truth: war had come to their doorsteps. Why had this acute danger emerged now? One answer lay in the fading grip of political constraints. Ukraine was making strides with long-range strike capabilities. From Berlin came echoes of new possibilities. No longer were there limits on range for military operations. Such proclamations ignited a firestorm in Russian circles. Was this a fundamental shift in the battlefield's rulebook? Meanwhile, whispers about Washington's selective restrictions indicated a complicated landscape of military support, with varied rules governing resources from different allies. The loosening political barriers served only to undercut Moscow's long-standing belief in the invulnerability of its capital. The last 6 months painted a grim picture. Increased airspace closures, shorter windows for strikes, and heightened alertness marked the new status quo. On the Ukrainian front, 3 critical developments emerged: domestic cruise missiles, an extended-range ammunition program, and a new generation of long-range drones. Among these was the Flamingo FP-5, a cruise missile boasting a staggering range of 3,000 kilometers. In a shocking turn, it had recently been deployed to strike Russian military assets in Crimea, marking a pivotal moment. Could such advancements in their arsenal alter the course of this conflict, reaching far beyond the expected battlefield? As tension mounted, cell phones buzzed with updates, intertwining the fates of thousands of Moscow residents, who now faced daily life filled with uncertainty and fear. How many more interruptions would they endure? How close were they to further escalations that could shatter the fragile peace? Each day brought fresh reminders that the war might be just around the corner, a storm gathering on the horizon. Would that storm break with a vengeance? The sound of sirens, the sharp scent of fear in the air, and the oppressive weight of anxiety became everyday companions. In a stark shift, citizens realized that their normalcy had been warped, with reminders of abrupt disruptions ringing loud and clear. As uncertainty loomed like dark clouds overhead, hope flickered dimly. Could anything restore the quiet they once knew? Or was this the beginning of a relentless cycle, one they could never escape? In recent months, the skies over Russia have transformed, plunging the nation into a new era of tension, where the sound of drones has become a haunting melody of uncertainty and fear. As tensions escalate, millions of Russians, who once gazed to the sky with indifference, now find themselves gripped with anxiety as drone and missile strikes have made the concept of war terrifyingly real. This drama began in mid-March, with one staggering event that changed everything. On March 11, 2025, Moscow became a battlefield of aerial chaos as one of the largest drone attacks in history hovered ominously over the city, sending shockwaves through the population. Sirens wailed, and darkness enveloped the city as defense systems scrambled to respond. The air was thick with the acrid smell of smoke and the overwhelming noise of alarms, marking the first time many had felt such relentless fear. From that fateful night onwards, a grim routine emerged. Flights began to be cancelled without warning, and nights became synonymous with alerts and uncertainty. The term night closure soon entered the common vernacular, painting a chilling picture of a city where normalcy was a distant memory. Each month brought new reminders of this fracture in reality. In May, a drone swarm forced multiple airports near the capital to close, plunging travelers into frustration and dread. The airport announcements became eerie echoes of despair, framing an anxious new economy built around flight cancellations and rerouted plans. As summer unfolded, the situation escalated further. On July 20th, the capital faced a new peak of fear as authorities reported 117 drones downed, their ominous threat analysis serving as a reminder of a chilling reality. Terror had become the norm, as the city learned to brace for interruptions to everyday life. Families found themselves reeling from sudden notifications on their phones, panic straining the nerves of even the most composed citizens. How many days without interruption had passed? This question became a dark joke, a haunting reminder of their constant vigilance amid uncertainty. But as August arrived, tensions reached unbearable heights. Airports experienced simultaneous shutdowns, creating a surreal atmosphere where normal life seemed suspended. Amid the ticking clock of anxiety, reports from distant regions of explosions and attacks underscored the harsh reality: war was no longer a far-off concept but a tangible presence, lurking just outside their doors. By September, the atmosphere thickened. With alarming statistics of countless UAVs downed, the reality of diminished safety clung to every moldy corner of the city. The intimate relationship between drones and urban life became painfully clear, no longer merely an abstract concept, but a constant, oppressive threat that disrupted daily routines with menacing efficiency. What would happen next? Amidst concerns raised in international dialogues and new technologies emerging on the battlefield, reports hinted at a looming shift in the balance of power. Could Ukraine's advancements in long-range strike capabilities alter the game forever? As the citizens of Moscow braced for the next wave, the question lingered: was this new phase of war merely a harbinger of deeper chaos or just the beginning of a relentless struggle for survival? In this world of multifaceted threats and escalating uncertainty, where every sound could signal disaster, the question lingers: how will a nation stand resilient against the shadows so deftly cast by modern warfare? In the heart of Moscow, an unusual tension fills the air, intensifying day by day. Millions of residents feel the shadow of war creeping closer than ever before. With drone strikes, missile attacks, and sabotage becoming commonplace, the tranquility of city life has been shattered. The Ukrainian forces have expanded their reach, drawing a line of fear through the most significant cities in Russia, including Moscow and St. Petersburg. As the clock struck midnight on March 11, 2025, Moscow was plunged into chaos. A staggering wave of UAV attacks darkened the skies over the capital, overwhelming air defenses and sending citizens into a panic. The night was marked not only by the wailing sirens but also by the chaos of cancelled flights and sudden lockdowns. People were left wondering, how can this be happening in our cities? Each subsequent attack only deepened the fears of a population who had never truly experienced war. These disruptions were no mere coincidences. Similar incidents continued to plague the city. By May, encounters with drone swarms became frequent, leaving many travelers stranded. Passengers watched their travel plans unravel, and the term night closures became a part of everyday conversation, gripping the city with anxiety. July approached, and the situation escalated. Power and security infrastructures faced direct threats, revealing how vulnerable the capital had become to aerial assaults. Then came early July, the turning point. The intensity ramped up as drone incursions turned into routine occurrences for residents. Each night was filled with uncertainty: when would the next alarm sound? The lingering question of safety became unbearable as Byzantine new protocols were introduced, changing how the residents lived and traveled, forcing them to stay on high alert. In August, the nature of the threat morphed. Major airports in the Moscow region faced simultaneous shutdowns. As the city fought for its safety, menacing explosions erupted in western regions like Bryansk and Smolensk, hinting at an evolving combat strategy. Why was this happening now? Political shifts in European cities like Berlin hinted at an escalation of Ukraine's attack capabilities. Now, the very essence of warfare had changed. Low-altitude drone flights and unpredictable military strategies caused ripples of fear. The city's defenses were overwhelmed, struggling to keep track of simultaneous threats from multiple angles. Each alarm became a reminder of just how close the chaos lay. But here's the shocking truth: the ongoing conflict is not just one of might, it's a battle of wits, with accumulating costs on both sides. Civilians, caught in the crosshairs, are faced with ever-growing disruptions, and the government's narrative falters in the face of such persistent chaos. Can they truly protect the heart of Moscow, or is the capital now a mere pawn in a game of unseen players? In this climatic chapter of a crisis, the stakes have never been higher. The lives of ordinary citizens hang in the balance as they navigate a world turned upside down by conflict. The echoes of warning sirens are not just sounds, they serve as urgent reminders: the war is not just far away, it's at their doorstep. What comes next could change everything. In the heart of Moscow, the tension is palpable. The bustling city that once thrived on routine and familiarity now grapples with the shadow of conflict. For many residents, the sound of sirens has become part of daily life, woven into their reality like an unwanted thread. With drone warnings flashing on screens and urgent notifications blaring from city apps, the unpredictability of safety gnaws at their peace. Even the most mundane tasks, taking the children to school, commuting to work, or attending doctor appointments, have been punctuated by these alarming interruptions. As passengers navigate their commutes, unexpected flight cancellations and runway closures loom like specters, casting a shadow over their plans. Families rush to adjust their schedules, the worry of delays eating away at their resilience and sense of normalcy. The psychological toll manifests in a chilling feeling. Safety is now measured not by the absence of chaos, but by the frequency of disruptions woven into their lives. For 6 long months, Muscovites have danced to this unsettling rhythm. On one hand, defense systems are touted as successful, intercepting numerous threats. On the other, civilian life is caught in a relentless crossfire of uncertainty. Each night brings the harrowing dual experience of hearing resolved alarms signaling danger while simultaneously feeling the weight of disrupted routines. The reality is stark: the ability to quantify safety through numbers has faded, replaced by the constant worry about how many plans will be derailed today. As the political landscape shifts, the implications of prolonged conflict become chillingly clear. The normalization of drone strikes and the increasing capabilities of Ukrainian forces have rewritten the rules of engagement. The once comforting notion of distance has evaporated. Moscow, a city rich in history and culture, now stands on the precipice of an unrelenting reality where sirens, once mere sounds, now symbolize the fragility of peace and the eerie permanence of war. Is this the new normal? Or is this an ominous prelude to something even more disturbing? With every hour that passes, the feeling of dread lingers. Each warning pushes the city's residents to confront a hard truth: safety is no longer guaranteed, and every day might be their last uninterrupted moment. How long can they endure this twilight existence, where the echo of security is drowned out by the anticipation of the next alert? Their world has been irrevocably altered, and there's no turning back. As the clock continues to tick, so does the urgency for a resolution that feels ever more distant. In a world where the horizon of conflict stretches beyond borders, the unthinkable is now a haunting reality for many in Moscow. As Ukraine refines its long-range capabilities, the very essence of safety has transformed into an illusion. This is not just about a single drone threatening the night sky, it's a powerful narrative of strategic access that shakes the foundations of Russian security. As Ukraine enhances its arsenal, including the formidable Flamingo cruise missiles and the long-range kamikaze drones, Moscow finds itself in a precarious position. Each night, citizens are greeted not by the calming silence of the evening, but by the anxiety-inducing hum of impending alerts. This has become the new norm, the unsettling rhythm of an alarm economy, where the boundaries of safety have been widened, and the city has become embroiled in a constant state of readiness. No longer can safety be measured solely by the number of attacks thwarted. Instead, it's evident that the very fabric of daily life is unraveling. Flights are disrupted, families are anxious, and the routines that once defined ordinary existence have morphed into a chaotic dance of uncertainty. As the weeks roll on, the air thickens with apprehension. Each early morning becomes a gamble: will the sirens wake you, and will you make it on time? The psychological strain of constant alerts grates against the resilience that once characterized urban life. The uncertainty of what the next hour holds hangs over every commuter and every school run. Lives are irrevocably altered. But in Washington and Berlin, new declarations soften the restrictions that once seemed impenetrable. With no limits on range, the looming question now is, how far will Ukraine go in its pursuit of freedom? As the curtains rise on this new chapter, Moscow is left probing shadows, unable to predict the next strike. The technology available is evolving, and the frequency of interruptions has fanned the flames of fear. Tension builds like a coiled spring. The mere existence of these advanced military capabilities sends a shiver down the spine of the Kremlin. Each announcement reveals a deeper truth: the age of complacency is over. Moscow is a target, and every alarm serves as a reminder that danger is closer than ever before. A chilling thought persists: when will the next alarm sound? And how many more lives will be disrupted in the process? As we pause to consider the implications, one shocking truth emerges: the war is no longer a distant conflict. It has become an intimate reality for everyday Russians, punctuating their lives with fear and disruption. The map of security has been redrawn. Will the people of Moscow adapt, or will they crumble under the weight of a new reality? Only time will tell, or perhaps the next alarm will. Each night unfolds a new chapter in this ongoing saga, a reminder that even amidst the chaos, the true fight for security is one fought not only on battlefields but within the hearts and minds of a restless populace.